Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Everyone, welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I will be your host for the next hour. Tonight I have a very special guest on the show to introduce to you, and he is going to be talking to us about the consciousness revolution. My guest this evening, his name is Kalveen Timalathe, and he is an actor, he's a model, and he's a musician. He's also a stuntman and an expert in martial arts.
I wouldn't say expert, Lesley.
And one of the things that fascinates me the most about Kalveen is that he composes music which is meant to uplift humanity. And Kalveen is currently organizing a revolution in consciousness. And so we have him on the show because he's going to tell us all about that. So Kalveen, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Lesley. That was a really very overwhelming introduction. Thank you very much.
You're supposed to say action.
Oh, yeah, action.
Action, yeah. No, I'm very happy to be on your show. It's a privilege to be able to share my thoughts with more people than I usually would. So this is just a great opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Well, that's great. And before we dig into it, I gave you a bit of an introduction from what I know about you, but tell us more about Kalveen. What would you like us to know about you?
Well, I guess the art that I'm making now is really based on my essence. I'm really making it from my soul, and so my name Kalveen, I guess when you translate it into English, it roughly comes into some meaning like dark knowledge. Excuse me if my voice cracks out or splits a little bit. I've been working pretty hard, so just bear with me. But so yeah, dark knowledge, and my life has been really a kind of that journey, learning that there is darkness and that we have to accept that, but we can't, there's no light without the darkness. So it's not necessarily there's a question of looking at things as right or wrong or good or bad. It's like, you and I talked before, it's about intention. And as long as a person has a good intention and they're trying to act for the greater good, then we call that good. And if a person is coming from a place of ill intention and trying to be destructive, then we call that evil. But those things are both always going to exist in our universe, and so we have to learn to accept within my journey about learning that and expressing that truth in the music. Whether that truth be considered dark or not necessarily everybody's cup of tea, that's fine. It's just the reality of what the life is.
Yeah. Now, I know you're not going to share, I don't think you're going to share any music with us this evening, but I'd love...
I was hoping maybe I might recite one thing at the end if we have time, but it's definitely one thing that I wrote. It's not actually a musical thing, but it has a lot to do. It's very profoundly in consciousness, so I do want to share with you guys in a bit.
Oh, I'd love that.
Let me tell you guys a little bit more about what the initiatives that we're working on. I can't go too much into detail because just the legality of things. Yeah, we're working on some new projects, and one short film, which we're going to be putting a soundtrack to. I'm working with some really talented guys. This one guy that I worked with before in a movie is an amazing stunt guy. His name's Paul Niger, and he's going to be helping me a great deal with that story. And then I'm also working on a new album, and that album is... It's going to be completed hopefully by the end of this year, depending on if everything goes well, and it's depending on how long the films take. So things are in motion right now, but I can't really let the cat out of the bag just yet, so as it were. But I can tell you guys about what's inspired my work, and I really hope other people will start thinking about these things. Like a lot of it, what I'm working on, is based on mythology. And I don't know if you probably, I know you have.
Yeah.
I don't know if many of the people out there have heard of Joseph Campbell.
Yeah.
And Joseph Campbell's work is really integral to mine, and also Carl Jung and his work in psychology. And working with the archetypes and understanding the themes. And these archetypes, they're prevalent in everything. It's when we start to see the majesty in everything that everything becomes magical. It's always been magical. It's just that we don't always see it that way.
Yeah.
And so it's time for people to start realizing their own power, the power of the human body and the mind. And so that's what I'm trying to do with my art, is trying to get people to wake up. Leslie, can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I talk, just talk like I would talk with anybody normally, and sometimes the curse word comes out. So if it does by accident, I'm sorry. I apologize in advance to the guests. I'll try my best to be courteous. But sometimes when I get passionate, a little bit of word does sometimes slip out. So if I do by accident, I apologize.
Yeah, no problem.
But, so that's really what we're working on. Like, Joseph Campbell, if anybody wants to go on YouTube, there's tons of videos of his. You can just sit there and watch him and listen to him. And he talks about the rites of passage, and that is something that in our society we're losing. Or many people in our society have lost. Especially, I'm focusing more on young men, so I feel that's my duty. I'm making songs for the warriors of the world.
Yeah,
I feel. And so this rite of passage that a young man has lost is what we're trying to focus on. I don't know, you have seen that movie 300 about the Greeks?
Yes.
King Leonidas?
Yeah, I've seen
so
that.
It's similar to that. We're using, that idea. In the beginning of that movie, he goes out into they send him out with a spear into the forest in the winter and basically tell him, well, son, if you make it back, that's great. We'll be happy to see you, but if you don't, it was nice knowing you. And that's just a fact of life. And sometimes when a boy faces that rite of passage, that's what makes him a man. And there was a long time, I noticed that wasn't really happening around me. And I myself had to go through a rite of passage, and that's really what brought my art out. And it really made me face my own fears of, and that's some of the things we're confronting in the movie. Fears of abandonment, fears of failure, fears, everyone has fears, fear of death.
Mm.
And then, once you conquer those fears, there's one thing that I really like is that I said to myself one day, courage is not something I found, fear is something I lost. And we all have courage, and we all have the big fears, so I'm working on helping young men face those fears. If our society is breaking down to the point where, we're no longer doing that for them the way that the tribes used to do, the way a shaman would do, then I'm going to help them do it through art, show them how to do it themselves, like I did.
That's fantastic.
So that's the fundamental basis of what we're trying to work on here, is to really empower people. They don't, if people knew how powerful they really were inside, with the energy that's actually in them, what they could accomplish, it's amazing. And we live in a time where the powers that be don't understand all that, because if we all knew how powerful we could be, then we would stop fighting each other.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
So
like Bob Marley said, until the color of a man's skin is no more significant than the color of his eye to the war. So I'm spending my mind and my heart.
Yeah, So you got to make sure you speak into the speaker, because when you move your mouth away, we don't hear you so well.
I'll try and just sit still.
That's better.
Right still.
Yeah, that's better.
But so that's the basis of the art. That's the overall theme that we're coming from. But the music is going to be, even the movie, a little bit dark and a little bit scary, and that's done intentionally so that people face that. I remember when I first listened to Metallica, the Black Album, there was this one song on there called Enter the Sandman. And when I first heard that on the radio, I remember I was a little kid and I heard it at night and I was in bed. And it scared me, but I couldn't turn it off. And so, this is kind of one of those things that we're trying to get at. There's something there that you might not want to go face, but once you face it, you'll realize it wasn't that bad to begin with, and you become empowered.
So is the music aimed at taking people from a journey into their deepest darkness and then to transcend that darkness into light?
The movie is more like that. I would say the movie is more like that. But the music I'm working on is more just for the warriors. So when they're out there doing their thing on a daily basis, they're working their butt off somewhere, practicing or doing whatever they are, whatever makes them a warrior. We still have my war chant with them to listen to.
Now,
that's the basis of it.
Yeah. When we spoke a while back about your music, I thought I remembered you telling me that you were some of the music it was relating to the chakra system, to the human energy system.
Yeah, we are using mantras and vibrations.
Right.
Help enhance the music and also help the listener. But there's certain things that we must always shade away from the eyes of the profane who are not yet initiated.
So, Kalveen, tell us about the revolution in consciousness, because when you wrote to me about this interview, you said, I'm leading a revolution in consciousness and I want to get the message out there. So what's the revolution in consciousness?
Well, revolutions and renounce, what did they say? Renaissance? A revolution and a renaissance don't usually happen overnight. They happen over decades and generations. So it's an organic process. Like you and I spoke earlier today, everybody kind of had they're not really certain what was going to happen. Well, people had their theories, and everybody believed in the Mayan calendar and this and that. Well, the Mayans were absolutely accurate in their calendar. Things did change. Things are changing. People who were of the same vibration as the frequency we're moving towards, they feel it. They are literally inspired by it. Like I told you, that the full moon that we had on March 8th, which was the biggest full moon that we're going to have of the year, which in India they call it the Mahashivratri. So if you start to learn about these kind of things and how you can enhance your own personal power, like that night I stayed up the whole night to make sure I stayed erect, because that way the energy from the earth and the moon was able to flow through me absolutely directly. If I was lying down, it still would have gone through, but staying up and doing the mantras and the visualization, I multiplied it many times over. So, like I told you, by taking that and then thereby a little while later, it was amazing transformation. So, yeah, these things, when 2012 happened, what I noticed in my life was all the people that were moving towards a higher level of consciousness were coming together, and all the people in my life who didn't give a shit about, care about those things, they started going in a different way. And you yourself saw that when we spoke. You're like, there's certain people in your life that are going away from you, and you are starting to increase your own energy.
Yeah.
So it tends to be that when we as a person want to rise, those who themselves are fearful and don't see the ability within themselves to rise as well, they will try and pull that person down. And so then naturally that is going to result in conflict. And so I've seen this, a lot of people, and look around the world now. You see, certain movements are really coming together, and there's these other movements of people still trying to start wars and stuff. And it's just, there's two opposing forces. There's two things moving in two different directions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The
revolution in consciousness is about all the people that are getting together to, I don't know, it sounds corny, peace, love, and harmony, basically.
Yeah.
People have the same vibration, the vibration of love.
Yeah.
It's not really, it's not rocket science, to be honest. I don't know why people think it is, but so that's what really what it's about, Lesley.
Right. Well, you're right. I mean, the planet is the vibrational frequency's been rising, and the effect is increased polarization between the darkness and the light. So, I said that what's been happening as the frequency rises on the planet is an increase of the polar opposites of the dark and the light, and it happens within each individual, and they have a choice which one are they going to choose, and it happens on a planetary level as well, which are why we're seeing all of this heightened activity in terms of people fighting each other, but also in terms of like you said, the people that are choosing the light beginning to find each other.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about the goddess, and she takes many different forms. And when in what we call the Kali Yuga, it's a time of darkness, the only way that she can end that time so that we can move into a time of eventually a golden age, is you have to destroy that darkness with something. And the darkness is just ignorance. So it's not about violence. It's about just destroying the darkness of ignorance by shining light. That's what she does. Right? So let me read something to you that I wrote, Lesley. I think this might really help our listeners. I've always kept this dear to my heart ever since I wrote it. It's actually something that is a driving force in my life. So it's about the human body, basically. The human vehicle is the most advanced technological instrument on Earth. However, man's inability to comprehensively understand the natural laws governing his existence bars him from a complete and willful manipulation of his genius. This vain search for a mechanism outside ourselves that will act as a catalyst for acquiring knowledge and power is a smack of contempt in the face of evolution. Evolution. It is a recourse that reeks of ignorant straw grasping, insecurity, and fatuity. A brain is nothing more than a tool for a sentient being. It is not the brain cerebrating, but rather the consciousness driving the body that is doing the thinking. Just as muscle fibers in a normal state are not of their own inclination impulsive, but rather they react to nerve impulses from the brain. Just as computers have a hard drive that cannot work until it has power supplied to it. It is the individualized essence of creative intelligence, represented by an evolving subtle form of energy, that is the life-sustaining force. It is this commonly imperceivable energy force that is illuminating the sense organs and is the awareness behind all stimulus reception and transmission. Via the brain, we gain phenomenological knowledge, which means the knowledge of experience, in three-dimensional manifested existence. Via the mind, which is a form of consciousness, we expand our awareness through the experience of other paradigms in our existence. So that's, pretty much what I'm trying to get at. So if everybody can understand that, things will get better quickly.
Well, exactly. My way of saying that is, you are spirit, you're not your physical body. And exactly like you said, that the brain belongs to the body, and most of us are living through the body levels as opposed to allowing spirit to flow through.
We need to realize we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We're not human beings that once in a while have a spiritual experience. We're getting that backwards.
Yeah. That's right.
So I'm here to try and help them get it straight.
Great. And Kalveen, the revolution in consciousness, perhaps just to sort of sum up in the next 5 minutes or so, what are the key messages of this? And maybe what you just said is the key message. You are spirit.
I think what I just read.
Yeah, you are a spirit. Exactly. So how
people can understand that is really the key.
So understanding is the first step, and then
people need to understand that I really need to get people to start doing yoga and meditate. Until everybody on this planet starts doing that, things aren't going to work straight. So I don't understand why people just try it. One thing that really pisses me off is hypocrites. I hate people who talk about something that they won't even try. For the love of God, just try it, and then if you don't like it, say something, right?
Yeah.
But we have so many people out here criticizing, passing judgment with broad brushstrokes, and they're not even willing to try the things that they're criticizing. So yoga is so essential, and meditation, it changes everything. And we have to get people doing this. There's 8 limbs of yoga. It's called Ashtanga, and I do all 8. And, there's certain things that, I need to teach men the power of celibacy, the power of, Kundalini yoga and how to raise your own energy. And there's so much more out there to see, Lesley. You and I know that. There's much more than what they're seeing with their 2 eyes. If you actually get to know the 3rd eye, there's 7 more octaves to it. So, yeah, man, once you actually see it for yourself, I'm pretty sure you'll seeing is believing. That's the only way I can put it, really.
Yeah.
I just wish people would try it.
Yeah, well, and I'm a great believer in meditation. It changed my life, and everyone who comes to me that wants... Go on.
Sorry, go ahead. What you see in your mind is actually what you're creating.
Yep.
Your thoughts are bringing about your life.
Yep.
There's a book by a man named Charles Htto. And actually, there's a couple. If anybody emails you and wants to know some really good books, I can always email you guys back and let you know some of the books that I've read that are really, really, I think, important. But there's one book that I've had to read it over and over and try and get it through my head. But if you want to learn something, really have to do it. It's called The Master Key System, and it's by Charles Htto. If anybody wants to read it, but you can't just read it. There's exercises in it, meditation exercises. So, it's building your body. Well,
I know that.
Watching somebody play sports gets you fit. You got to get off your butt and do it. So that's a big part of it. And there's other books, like I said, Joseph Campbell's work is very important. Carl Jung. I wish people would learn more about an author named Robert E. Svoboda, Jean Michel. I could go on and on. So, but if everybody ever wants me to send a book list or something, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, sure. So, folks, if you are interested in any of the books that Kalveen mentioned, then just send a message to info@drlesleyphillips.com, and we will get that list to you.
One little poem here that I was going to read for you guys.
That would be lovely. Yeah, so maybe
clever to see if the listeners can keep up with it. We haven't put it to music yet, so it's just a poem still. But it could turn into quite a dynamic song, I hope. So if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and read it for you guys.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so it's called The Ascetic Sword. And for those of the people who don't know what the word ascetic means, you should go look it up. All right, so the ascetic sword of skepticism has 2 edges. One keeps me sharp and suspicious of the sycophants and the superstitious. With it, I cut through the fictitious teachings of the orthodox who can't think outside the box. You see, this is a crusade to dissuade their disciples, to free them from slavery cycles, and hopefully do it without rifles. But my rivals would have you running in circles, giving chase to the myth of a curse. We're paving the road for your hearse and fattening this fucking purse. They'd have you puckering up like sycophants, killing each other just to be first. But the adept skeptic slices through the scheming conspiracy of silence, and in the solarium of solitude he finds his solace. But that same dogmatic is cut by his own sword, when empiricism is blindly accepted and the inconspicuous is completely ignored. So, Lesley, I think you might get some of that, but I don't know if all our listeners will. But, that's with this. We're taking it to a different level. People have to start thinking again, and I'm going to get their brains working again, because it took a lot of hard work and a long time through the darkness for me to get to where I'm at. So the hard work pays off, and we're going to, we as a humanity are going to make this through, because once you put your mind to something, your intention, and you give it everything you got, and if that's your purpose in life, you can consider it done. And my work, whatever becomes of it, whatever becomes of me, I'm going to give it everything I got. So in my mind, it's already done. And I think that's what I want everybody out there to think about. Whatever it is that they love, go do it, man. Because what if tomorrow doesn't come?
Well, that's a fabulous message to complete our chat with. Everybody, we're all here for a reason, and
know thyself.
Yeah,
man. I know that's really hard. It sounds simple, But once you figure that out, and don't go according to other people's parameters, there's many ways to get back to your source. I told you, Lesley, there's the right-hand path and the left-hand path. And I'm walking the left-hand path. So I hope people just figure out which path they're supposed to walk and get on it, man. Yeah. We need everybody's help. We can get this done, but it's going to take everything we got as a human being, as a humanity. So it's go time.
That's right.
Right.
Well,
thank you so much, Lesley, for giving me this opportunity, and thanks to all my friends out there that listened. And yeah, I don't know how else to express my gratitude to you guys.
Oh no, my pleasure, Kalveen, and thank you for sharing the poetry and your journey and everything that you said that was inspiring for our listeners. And
awesome.
like I said, anytime you've got some music that you want to share, then give me a shout, because I'd love to, air it on the show. And
as soon as it gets done, trust me, I'm going to make sure it hits everywhere. Everywhere frequency you can get it on.
Yeah. Great. Well, much love to you, Kalveen, and
thank you.
Yeah.
Much love to everybody else out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Well, listen.
Right.
Bye.
All right, take care, you guys.
Yeah. See
Bye.
you soon. All right.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. We do have another caller on the line. Hi, caller, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Lesley. How are you? My name is Helen.
Oh, hi, Helen. I'm great, and thank you for calling. How can we help you?
I have a regular caller who recommended your program, and I actually have seen you give a talk a couple of years back. And the purpose, I have two questions. My first question is, I've been soul-seeking or searching for quite a number of years. And the question I have posed to you, because you are a teacher and you're intuitive, is, are we really a soul having a human experience? I'm not saying that we're a human, first and foremost. But the thing is, the evolution of our consciousness, where we're all interconnected with both plant life and animal life, that is evolving at such an escalated rate that sometimes confused with individual, unique souls per physical body, because that would be that every animal has a soul, which is, a rational way of being. But I want to hear your thoughts on that, because there is an overlapping between an individual soul, but then also too, our consciousness is constantly evolving. Our brain is evolving. The actual hemispheres are evolving. And so I just wanted to know your thoughts about that, because people who are searching sometimes wonder, is there anything to life, and am I really a soul, or is it just basically the human brain and evolution of consciousness expanding? So what do you think about that?
Okay. Well, I think you asked a number of things all intertwined there, and so let me give you my concept of what I think you're asking me about, and if I don't give you an answer that is addressing the right question, you can ask it again. So we are consciousness, right? Consciousness is what is. We are consciousness, and you're right. We are consciousness, basically creating ourselves in different forms. We're consciousness ever expanding. If you think of who you are as a flow of consciousness that's flowing directly from source, and source is another word for great all that is.
Creator,
source, universe,
God, all
of those things. Yeah. So if you think that you are a flow of consciousness from source, okay? That flow of consciousness is eternal. It's ever flowing, and it's flowing in and out of form. Yeah. And it's expressing itself in in multiple dimensions of reality, actually simultaneously, because what we're experiencing as time is kind of an illusion. So when in talking about the soul, I often use the analogy of a disco ball. And if you're in a disco and you can see all the lights on the floor moving around, right? All of those points of light are coming from the disco ball.
Yes.
And so in one way, that analogy can be used to talk about reincarnation and different aspects of your consciousness being expressed in different realities. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yep. No, I understand.
Yeah.
I've been on this journey for a while, so I've explored everything esoteric under the sun. I'm just asking for your perspective, because I know we're all from Source or God or Creator or Universe, whatever terminology someone feels comfortable with based upon their belief system.
Right.
And I know that everything that we physically see with our five senses, or I should say, the sense of sight, is a representation of the expression of the consciousness, and it's just in different forms. And so that's what I'm trying to say, is that this thing where there is this soul, that would be that all lives, whether it be plant life, like a tree, or
I get where you're going.
have a soul. And so there seems to be a distinction between, a tree doesn't have organs, yet it has the life force, whether it be chi or prana. It still has that life force of universal consciousness.
Right.
So it's kind of seeming like that humans think that we just have souls, whereas so do animals. But when it comes to, I have that question because we're all searching for our life purpose, how we use our gifts, and how we use those gifts in a type of career or vocation, whether we do it full-time or part-time. And so my question to you is, having that discernment, if I'm a ray of light from the universe, then I'm a ray of life in this expression. But how does that relate to my soul having its own individual quest? And that's why it's a two-part question.
Okay, here we go. Okay. All right. So let's think of it this way. And of course, in human language, we can just point at the reality without, in a way, our language is inadequate to express it.
It is.
But let's think of it this way. So starting from source is a flow of energy, right? And think about multiple flows of energy coming from source. And one of those flows of energy is you. Right? Is your soul, is your higher consciousness. And that soul creates in multiple realities, including this reality right now and Helen that I'm talking to. So Helen is one of the body personalities, is one of the temporal selves of Helen's soul, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so your soul has created many expressions of itself in many different ways, right? We might perceive some of these as past lives, future lives, parallel lives, or even other expressions of itself in other dimensions of reality.
Even in just this life, I've gone through a metamorphosis, even in just this lifetime as well, having it express myself as I've aged physically, and even in this time. So I agree with you on that aspect.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, consciousness is consciously expanding and expressing itself in different ways for the purpose of just constant expansion and the joy of expanding. And so that's really what it's about. And so the grass is an expression of consciousness, the trees are an expression of consciousness, and you are an expression of consciousness. But let's see it this way. So your soul has a purpose for creating you. But
that's another thing too. Is like our mind can create our reality, like your previous guest speaker was talking about. I mean, I read like anybody else, Rhonda Byrne from The Secret and Jeffrey Wands, and there's many others. Our mind is so powerful that we can create anything, but the soul kind of has that GPS of, what is our purpose to have that full expression. You're talking about, the universe expressing in me, expressing in you, expressing in trees, expressing in leaves. But there's this angst that a lot of us light workers or soul seekers are looking for, if we are a soul and not just consciousness evolving, is, what is our contribution to the evolution of other consciousness in different forms, and so that's where a lot of people are kind of like, well, if I'm an expression, and you're an expression, yet there's different purposes to our lives according to different gifts, and it becomes a very kind of muddy area. So if you could basically expand a little bit on that.
Okay, let me ask you a question before I answer it. So if you were to ask this question from a personal perspective, just purely from what Helen wants to know, is there a way of you sort of posing it as a personal question? Because I think what's unfortunately happening is that it's sort of turning into trying to understand the greater reality from an intellectual perspective. And what I want to do is maybe just home in on you and help you with this piece within you.
Okay. That's a very valid and a very insightful way of looking at things. So I can shift the perspective easily. I've been on the path. I'm 46. I've been on the path since I was about 18. I didn't want to go get, a job or go to college, university. I knew that I had certain gifts and I needed to discover my life purpose. I am still becoming more self-aware of who I am, know thyself, but I don't know what my life purpose is. And I want my life purpose to be connected to vocation. That doesn't mean that in some people that it has to be, but I think the majority of people, if they're wanting to make a big difference on this planet and they're going to be doing something 8 or 9 hours a day, they want it to be meaningful. So to go first circle into your question, I don't know what my life purpose is, and I've done a lot of self-discovery, career counseling, and spiritual work, and I'm still not clear on that. So you have any intuitive insights of what those gifts are or anything like that, I'm open to listening.
Sure. And I'll just go into trance and take a look at your energy specifically, and if you could keep your eyes open when I do that.
Of course, yeah.
And, one of the things that I'm seeing with you is that you're just a powerhouse. You actually have an enormous amount of energy, and
say that last sentence again, because your voice got just a slightly bit faint on the microphone.
Yeah, I said that the first thing I'm seeing is that you're just a powerhouse and you have an enormous amount of energy. You have an enormous amount of energy flowing to you and through you. And
I'm definitely like to keep busy, and I'm a type A personality, and I like to serve. I like to not just serve myself because it doesn't make me happy, but when I'm serving other people, that does tend to contribute to the majority of my happiness. So yes, I tend to have lots of energy and never get tired.
Sure. Well, just give me a moment. Let me talk for a little bit, because it's easier for me to sort of stay in trance and read the energy. So you can give me your feedback at the end, maybe. So just bear with me, and I'll just go back in and take a look again. So what I was starting to say is that I just see all of this sort of power and energy, and one life purpose that every single human being is sharing right now ultimately shares, is the desire to, we call it becoming enlightened, but it just means being consciously aware while you're living your life through your human body. So that's one of the very first things that I'm seeing is part of your life purpose this time. It's like you're one of the ones who said, right, I want to be born at this time on this planet, and I'm gonna go for it. And it doesn't, I'm going to be a beacon of light, shining brightly, because we need some beacons of light as an example to the others to help them decide to wake up too.
Raise the consciousness level. Yeah.
Right. So that's part of your life purpose. And now I'm seeing that something gets in your way of really embodying it. And one of the things that gets in your way of embodying it is actually, in a way, needing to define it and needing to enclose it in an intellectual understanding of what it is. And so, and this might sound trite, but we're always saying things like, in the spiritual, go with the flow, let go and let God. But I'm seeing that all of that power and energy that's meant to flow through you isn't always flowing through you, because what happens is that you go into your intellect a little bit. And the intellect and this is actually what the previous caller was talking about, Kalveen, who was saying, you know, the intellect is part of the physical body. The physical body it's a vehicle, it's a construct, it's something that you've created in order to have very focused experiences on earth through, but it isn't you, it's your creation, right? And you are meant to flow through it. And so purpose number one is just to become a fully embodied, fully awakened spiritual consciousness. In a way, if that wasn't enough, I mean, that's like, what more can you want? Is to be God, looking, you know, God alive, walking around, experiencing life through your eyes. That's the ultimate purpose of everything. And then if I look at, you know, the other thing that we're talking about is, well, what's my unique contribution? And I really think, actually, for you, what I just said is a really big part of your unique contribution. But I'll see if I can see anything else. Do you know how to ground? Do you know about grounding?
I know about visualizing roots coming from my feet and my base chakra and putting it to Mother Earth.
Okay.
To center. It's very weak right now. Yeah. I went and got my chakras tested at a store in Kits, and all my chakras are running on average, but my root chakra is quite weak.
Yeah, you're not that. That's what I was going to say. I mean, so you know how to ground, but it doesn't look like you're that grounded. And really, all you need to do is intend that you are grounded and visualize that you are doing it, and you can use the flow of energy down the grounding to help clean out whatever's causing you to not be as grounded as you could be. But the grounding is really, really necessary for you to bring all of your light in through your body, and also for you to help you manifest and bring into being whatever it is that you're really wanting to do this lifetime. The grounding is like the first thing that you need, and you need it always. And so
well, it's how we manifest spirit energy into physical form. That part I intuitively know, regardless of what I read, and I'm putting it in intellectual words, but, you know, it's about bringing it down and making it, you know, in this 3D form, which is why I'm here.
Right.
So that's the first part. Do you see anything else with regards to an expression of that life purpose?
Sure, I can look, but I also want to ask you, is there a few different areas that you're attracted to, and I can look at the energy around each of them?
Well, because I'm I'm an Aquarius, so I have quite a few things that I enjoy doing. I'm at a crossroads in my life because my job didn't pan out the way I wanted it to 3 weeks ago, so I was let go. And I just don't feel like I'm on my path. You said my path is about, one of my life purposes is being that beacon of light for others and myself. Raising the consciousness level of others and myself, coming from a place of heart center for others and myself. Yet the ego mind also realizes that there has to be a practical component, because it is still part of the experience. So to answer your question, I'm discerning between working for someone else or working for myself. And
working for yourself for yourself looks a lot brighter than working for somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I feel intuitively. It's just taking that risk and that leap and making sure it's in alignment with what is for my soul's purpose, and that's hard to discern.
Yeah. It looks like it is in alignment, and what will help you with the fear is grounding, and what will help you to feel more comfortable with it is grounding. Now, unfortunately, we do have another caller, Helen, so I'm going to thank you for your call, and I'm going to
thank you for your wisdom and insight, and I will continue listening to the radio show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Feel free to call in again in the future.
Okay, sounds lovely. Thank you, Dr. Lesley. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Lesley. This is Lori calling.
Oh, hey, Lori.
Hi. I have a question. Something sudden has come up, and I was just wondering if it might mean something. I went to the hospital early this morning because I have this kidney stone issue where I'm passing a kidney stone, and it's really painful.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering why I may have created that, if there's something around that.
Okay, well, you know what? And the first thing that comes up without even going into trance and tuning in depth is repressed anger. But actually, you know what? Being pissed off, which, you know, we know what the kidneys do. So give me a moment. I'll tune into you.
Sure.
Do you know which kidney it is? Is it the right kidney? Do you hear me, Laurie? Do you know which kidney?
Sorry, for some reason it's cutting out.
Yeah. Do you know which kidney it is?
Which kidney? Yeah, it seems like it's the left side. It came down from the left side.
Oh, I see. So and you're okay. So let's just take a look.
And it's now really it's low, but that's really painful. And
honestly, it's what my first instinct said. It looks like it's repressed anger, and that the kidney stone formed because you were squeezing in and repressing anger. And it was sort of like, it started off as an energetic thing, holding the anger back, and that intensified so much that you created a physical block, which was the kidney stone. And it looks like you are letting go of the kidney stone because you're wanting to unblock that area where you've been repressing your anger. And so let's just see.
Is there a particular person or event that...
Well, it looks like it just a massive amount of anger, and it looks like it has to do with all the things where you would say, this is what it looks like. It looks like almost like being trapped inside the walls of an enclosure, and wanting to break out of that enclosure, and getting madder and madder at being stuck inside the box. And it's anger at all circumstances and all people that made you feel that way. So any time that you felt limited in your life, or any time that you felt restricted by another person, in terms of like what you're able to do and what you're able to create for yourself, you know, and I mean ultimately all of this, it's you living out the breaking out of your own limits, ultimately.
Okay.
And so I'm seeing, what might be good for you is let yourself run that anger. And, there's a simple meditation that you can do where you just basically visualize that you have a volcano in your belly, and you let the volcano erupt, and you let the anger run up the front of your body, keep it in your space, just let it erupt out the top like a volcano. And, it starts to help you really move stuff out. So that might just get the anger running and let yourself get mad. You don't even have to know why you're mad. Some of it could even be repressed from before you could even talk or think,
Before what?
Before you can even talk or think. You can have feelings, emotions at that time. So just let yourself express the anger. It's a bit like a Coke bottle, where it's all shaken up and then you take the lid off and it explodes.
Right.
And then, if you're asking about the kidney stone, it's obviously it's not passed yet. And then, what keep the kidney soul itself is it's fear. It's fear, and it's fear of self-expression and fear of expressing yourself, and feeling it not be safe to express yourself, and fear is what keeps things stuck. And anger is the next vibration up from fear, and at least it will get things moving again. But yeah, it's like being repressed and fear of breaking out of the repression, and suppressed anger at being trapped.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I know with Chinese medicine, I think kidney means, well, it can mean fear if there's something held in the kidney.
Well, Chinese medicine's very, very, I don't know what the word is, but good, accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, well, that really helps. Thanks so much. I'll do that meditation.
Okay, well, great,
Okay.
Laurie.
Right.
We're at the end of the show, so I'll let you go.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to her website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.